Today we're looking at creating a 6-score skirt, meaning that the skirt is made up of 6 panels which are essentially the same shape. We're going to create the panel by developing half of it and then adjusting the waist and the hem to get the correct measurements. So we start with a rectangle, we adjust it at the waist to get the correct size at the waist. We add some extra swing at the hem and then adjust the shape of the waist and the hem, and finally we'll mirror along the central line. So that's the idea of the process. To create it, we'll go to the Create menu and choose Rectangle. And I'm going to go into Value mode and create a rectangle that is 75 in length. That can vary. That's the length of the piece. And I'm going to do 8.3 in the width. So I'll just start that again. Value, click once, 75 and 8.3. So that's the width of half of the hip on the panel. Right click and OK. Right click and OK to accept that name. And then I'm going to just zoom in on the piece to start doing the adjustment. My first thing is to split this top line. So modify, split line action, right click and choose distance from point, drag to the corner, and then in the distance we want it to be around about the hip level that we're splitting. So 20.5 is the measurement that I've put. And then I'm going to also create a notch at that point. So holding my mouse, left mouse button down till I hit that little point that we've created, release, and there's my notch created now. Next thing I want to do is work up here in the waist area. So I'm just going to zoom in on that and you'll be able to see nice and clearly what's happening. So between here and here, I want to create some shaping. I actually want to reduce the width at the waist. So I'm going to make that 6 centimetres from the centre front out. So to do it, I'm going to create a digitised line, distance from point, select the point and put in 6. And we want a line. And I'm just going to click on the line and drag down till I hit that notch. End line to get rid of the line attached to my cursor. So there's my shape that I've created, and I want to replace this new line and get rid of this old section. So under line action, under modify, we'll go to modify, line action, replace. We'll make sure that we select the line that we want to replace, and we'll start from here. And as you can see, that corner wedge has been removed. I'm finished with that function, so I'll just zoom out again. And the next thing we want to do is put in a little swing on the side here. So expand the hemline. To do that, I will go into Create Offset Line and choose Uneven. Select the point to offset uneven from. Well, that's my hem corner. And I want it to be 3 wider at the hem. That's the swing or spring. Then it says select the point to, again, place the uneven. At that point there, I want it 0. So once I've done that, because I've got extend and to adjacent line and replace, when I do right click, it'll get rid of this parallel line and put the angled line in. So there's my shape. What I want to do next is put a little bit of shaping at the waist and at the hem. So I want to basically a 90-degree angle at each end. So again, I'll go into modify, and this time I'm going to modify a single point, and I'll do it in value mode. Selecting that point, I want it to be negative 0.3 or 3 millimeters, and the same at the waist. I want this point here to be negative 3.3, and I don't want any width added, so we'll just change that back to 0. Doesn't look like much has happened, but when I open it out, you'll see that there's a nice smooth line at the waist and at the hem, so that when we join those seams together, we don't get any peaks and valleys at the hem or the waist. So once we've done that, the next step is to create a mirror line here. So we're already in modify. We want to go to piece actions, mirror. I'm going to uncheck fold after mirror. I want it to open out. That's the mirror line. And now you can see I've got my full piece there. I can actually get rid of this mirror line. I don't need that anymore. So while I'm in modify, I'll go to delete line. I'll get rid of that line, and I will move the straight grain so that that's aligned with the center, and I'll adjust the length of it under modify, line actions, adjust. It's telling me to choose the end that I want to adjust. So there we go. I've got my straight grain extended. It's not going quite down to the hem, not going up to the waist either. Now I must have had notch option selected whenever I did the mirror. I don't really need those notches, so I'm going to get rid of them as well. Just get rid of them by going to modify, delete, notch. Now that I've got this piece here, I'm going to save it as, and I'm going to call it initials and skirt 1. And this is just the basic panel, the main panel, so I might just call it main as well. Once I've done that, I can right click and OK, and I'm going to put it up into the icon bar now. So right click, piece to menu, and you can see up here it's now there as the main pattern piece. That leaves me free to go on and do anything else that I want to do. And one of the things that I want to do is create a second panel that's going to have a little extension on it for a zip. So I'm going to go File, Save As again, and this time I'm going to save it as, instead of main, zip. So I'm not overwriting, I'm creating a new section. And yes, I want it to be in there, and I'm going to go piece to menu. So you can see I've got 2 pieces there now. For the zip piece, what I want to do is create that extra seam allowance area here. So first of all, I need to create my seams. And to do that, I'm going to connect some of these pieces of the pattern where the lines have been split. So I'm going into Modify, Line Action, Combine, holding down my Control key, selecting sections of the line, and when I've finished, releasing the Control key. So 2 sections of the line, release Control key, and the same again at the hem, release Control key. Now I can add all of my seam allowances, advanced, define. I'm just going to say 1 centimetre everywhere at this stage. And then I can change my hem to 3. So that's a nice quick way of doing it. I'm going to swap them over. And now I'm going to work on this little step area. So I'll zoom in here. We'll have a look at the top section again. To do the extension, I'm going to go to corners, under advanced corners, and I'm going to choose perpendicular step. So the idea is I want a 2 centimetre seam in this area where my zip is. So I'm going to make sure that in my user input I've got curved intersection selected, and I'm going to select the corner. So this is where there's going to be a quarter created. So I'll select that area. Then it tells me to select a line before or after that point. Doesn't matter which one it is. Select the line that I want to modify the seam allowance on, is this one. And I actually want it to be 2 centimetres there. So you can see it's created that extra step. And where I want the curve is in here. So it makes it nice and easy for the machinist and the cutter. And because I've got that on cursor mode, I can just move my mouse and it will change that squared corner into a curved corner. And at this point, I can get rid of these notches here because I don't really need them on that section anymore. So I can go File, Save here, and click on that, and it will save all of those changes that I've made. The previous one, the main one, I'm going to bring that one down and do a similar sort of process to what I did with the zip one. I'll go in and modify it to combine the lines. Number 1, I'm going to combine these lines and these lines. So it's just parts of the pattern that I'm combining the lines. And once I've done that, I can go into Advanced, Define Seams, add the seams to all of it as 1, but change it there on the hem to 3. And then I can swap them over. And then I'm pretty much right, except for adding my notches for the hem and my annotation. So adding notches for the hem, you can go into corner, regular corner. Make sure that you've got the notch type as either perpendicular or extension, and the notching line, either the first or the second. Essentially, we want at least one line to indicate what our hem is going to be. So I'm dragging to the corner. That's put it in for the hem, and that one's put it in for the seam allowance. And of course, I can do a similar thing to my zip panel. So I'm going to save this one again. And okay, clear the workspace, and I'll just do my notches. Because I've got a 2 centimetre zip here, I want a zip seam. I want to put in a corner there as well with my notch. So there's a 2 centimetre notch. Oh, and here and here. Oh, okay, and that's me pretty much done. Just add all your seam, your annotation. Make sure you've got a waistband added, and you've completed that style.